Dash is breaking new ground in terms of widespread cryptocurrency adoption by providing unbanked and underbanked people with more financial options and better economic solutions. To explore some of the unique challenges faced by money systems around the world and to explain how cryptocurrencies can lubricate commerce and facilitate daily transactions, please welcome to the stage, in conversation with Vice's Anne Gaviola, the CEO of Dash Core Group, Ryan Taylor.
Hello and welcome. It feels like I was just up here recently because I was just up here mere moments ago, mere minutes ago. I'm going to introduce myself again and then have you intro yourself to the audience. Everyone, my name is Anne Gaviola. I'm the Economics and Money Editor at Vice. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and I'm a longtime business journalist. I took a little time out, though, from my journalism career to go work in the crypto industry. I worked at Canada's leading, or one of Canada's leading blockchain crypto firms for 7 months this year. And it was a wild ride. It was an adventure of a lifetime. And now I'm back in journalism, but with a newfound sort of understanding of the industry, appreciation for the innovation that happens. I'm a certified Bitcoin professional, and here I am today on stage with you. You used to be a Wall Street hedge fund guy, and before that you were with one of the biggest strategy companies in the world. Tell us about how you came to the crypto space.
Yeah, so I was with McKinsey & Company for 7 years in their financial services practice in New York, so about as Wall Street as you can get in that sense. And switched from there to spend 4 years with a hedge fund, multi-billion-dollar hedge fund. And we were vertically integrated, so I covered the payment space and some other fintech for them. And it was during my time, exploring the payment space that I first came across Bitcoin in 2012, 2013 timeframe. Started to get more involved in this space as a hobby and an interest. And in 2014, I started looking at other projects and really discovered that a lot more was starting to happen. Reached out to the developers at Dash, and I just happened to be moving to the same city that the founder was in, and so we started meeting and talking about strategy and talking about the ways the space might evolve. And I slowly got pulled in, like most people. And when I quit,
they call that falling down the rabbit hole.
Yes, and in 2016, I took the final step, quit my job at a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund to make $750 a month at Dash, and everyone that I knew thought I was absolutely crazy. So I'm glad that I did it, and it's been a wild ride.
Absolutely. It took a little bit of convincing for me, especially letting my mom know that everything was going to be okay. Let's start by you telling us a little bit about Dash and some of the projects you're working on, your products. I know that you guys do a wallet, Dash Pay.
Yeah, so Dash is differentiated in the space for a number of different things. We're primarily known for our instant send feature, which makes Dash viable at the point of sale. And we have some privacy features built in. We're also self-funded. That makes us unique. We allocate a portion of our block reward towards projects and things, and so we aren't dependent on donations of time and resources. And that's allowed us to focus on, building the product and making it great. We've been working on Dash Pay, which is an application that we're launching on a reinvention of our platform. We're basically reinventing the way that cryptocurrency works with a focus on usability. And the Dash Pay wallet will act a lot like Venmo. Gone will be the cryptographic addresses. You'll be able to send friend requests within the network, have an ID on the network itself, and experience the same thing from multiple devices. So if I friend you on my phone, I see it on my tablet. And so when payments come in, they're not coming from a cryptographic address, they're coming from a user. And so it makes it very familiar and relevant to people. in a method that they're used to seeing. And we think that's really important in order to reach mainstream.
That sounds a little bit like fintech meets social media.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, usability trumps everything else. And so you have to fix usability. Right now, cryptocurrencies are at about the same stage the internet was when you had hyperlinks in your Mosaic browser. And we think that cryptocurrency needs that Netscape moment where it's like it finally has an interface that people are used to and fits naturally into their lives.
Do you think that there's too much emphasis within the word cryptocurrency on the currency part of it, the money part of it?
Well, I think that there's a lot of exploration of different use cases, from voting to identity management to healthcare records and all of these things. I don't know, over what timeline some of those things can come to pass, but it's my personal belief that cryptocurrency is the most straightforward of all of those use cases. It's just sending a transaction and being able to receive that transaction. And if you can't make that user experience great and you can't see that get adopted, it's unlikely that some of the more complex use cases will come to be. And so I really do believe that the cryptocurrency use case is one that is going to come first. And I don't think we've seen it yet. There's a lot of people speculating in the space, but not a lot of people really using it. And so when it comes to use, I think it's going to be the cryptocurrency first.
So one of the reasons I got into this space, one of the reasons I became fascinated with it is I'm born in the Philippines. This is a country with millions of really, well-educated entrepreneurial people, but a huge underground economy. So 40% of what the transactions that happen are off the books. There's a real potential in terms of changing lives, in terms of disruption. If you apply this technology and give some of the poorest people in the world who do have a cell phone access to traditional financial tools that people in other countries kind of take for granted, is that very much something that Dash is looking into?
Well, it's not just something we're looking into, it's what we're experiencing in the marketplace. Our #1 market right now is Venezuela, where they're experiencing hyperinflation. And people assume that it's because of the hyperinflation that people are willing to take a risk on another currency. We currently have over 2,200 merchants in Venezuela, and that's growing at about 200 merchants a week. So the growth rate this year has been unbelievably fast. We've got a partnership with a mobile phone manufacturer called Crypto Mobile that's putting out tens of thousands of phones every month with a preloaded Dash ecosystem in it. And so we're getting Dash into the hands of a lot of users and a lot of merchants there. And it's solving real problems for them. I think you and I are probably about the last people to adopt cryptocurrency for everyday use. And the reason is because nothing's broken here. It works relatively well, our financial system. We enjoy a great deal of financial freedom. But the problems that they're facing on the ground are very practical. They're running out of digits on point-of-sale equipment to be able to even enter a transaction. The banks are limiting the amount that they can use on their debit card in a given day to about $100. Well, you go out for a nice dinner, you're spent for the day. Small transactions are almost impossible to do. A lot of people are writing IOUs to each other and settling them the next day over the phone because...
Just writing it out on a piece of paper, IOU?
Because handling it with cash is impractical. These are problems that go beyond the hyperinflation itself. And when you solve actual practical uses for people and make their lives better in some way, that's when they will change behavior and adopt something new. And so I absolutely think that developing countries are where this is going to truly get adopted first, and it's what is happening with Dash. We're leading the market there because we have a great product, because it works at the point of sale, it's instant. There's a lot of benefit to that.
So tell us a little bit more about the strategy in terms of picking and choosing which markets you're going into.
Yeah, so we did a lot of analysis over the last 6 months on what are the markets that we believe have the most potential, because we have limited resources and we need to apply those resources towards the use cases that we think are going to have the best chance at success. And so we identified several. Some of them are generic to cryptocurrencies. Some of them are specific to Dash because of our features. And the ones that we're going after, hyperinflation markets, Venezuela is, of course, the example there. Remittance markets. Whenever you cross a border, there's at least 2 banks taking a portion of the transaction fees there.
And it takes a lot of time, too. It can.
It's also inconvenient. People have to go to a physical location to pick up their cash. And so we're focused on Latin America specifically, and there's some synergies there with Venezuela. High chargeback industries. So there's a lot of industries where credit card chargebacks are really high, and it's usually because of fraudulent claims. Online travel, nutraceuticals, adult products, gaming. These all experience incredibly high chargeback rates. Well, those costs are borne by the customer at the end of the day. And so if you can make a cash transaction online, there are no chargebacks. And so there's benefits there. Cryptocurrency traders, our instant send features allow exchanges that are enabled with instant send to send value between exchanges instantly, so taking advantage of arbitrage opportunities. And the last one is high cash cost industries, and specifically cannabis. There's a company called Alt36 that's building a platform on Dash. It's more than just payments, though. It's tax reporting. It is cash handling services where they come pick up the cash and convert it into Dash. There are vendor sign-ups, so you can pay your vendors with it. And they're building a whole product set around this, loyalty, rewards, and offers. And all of that is being built into a single platform. And so those are, what that addresses is the 20% cash handling costs in the cannabis industry. And so when you look at where the use cases are best, we think that's where it's going to get adopted first, and we're putting our resources towards those things.
Let's pivot a little bit. I would like to talk to you about the regulation piece, which I'm sure is something that factors into strategy for your business and for a lot of people's businesses. When I was a financial reporter, I sort of had a front row seat to what was going on when the US housing bubble burst, the credit crunch, the financial crisis, and then the Great Recession. And it seemed like US regulators had a tough time sort of keeping up with the innovative financial products that the smart kids, the mathematicians, the science people, and the Wall Street people were creating. Even some of the CEOs of big banks had a tough time explaining these super complicated products and the tranches and all the rest of it. Given how quickly things change in the crypto space, because things change hour to hour, do regulators in the US have the staff, have the knowledge to be able to regulate this? Do they even understand what they're trying to regulate?
I think that cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies came out of nowhere for them. I don't think they took it seriously fast enough. And I think the reasons are they're set up to interface with large institutions, because in the past, that's where innovation came from, credit derivative swaps and all these new erotic derivatives. And so that's what they were focused on and trying to identify what was coming next. Meanwhile, Bitcoin was a grassroots effort driven by community. And they really got caught on their back heel, I think, as a result. And I would say even at the beginning of this year, they really struggled to even understand Bitcoin and some of the basics behind it. And they were just getting educated at that point. Since the February timeframe, I would say that the SEC in particular has come a long way in their level of understanding. They don't have dedicated resources to it, though. It's kind of spread across the organization as people are getting up to speed. And they're trying to figure out, okay, well, what do we actually do with this? Do we treat it as a new asset class, which I think is the direction they're heading? Do we set new rules around it? We've seen Hinman make a speech in June where he introduced new factors to define what a security is beyond what the Howey test provides. And I think they've announced this week that they're going to formalize that and that'll be a continuing process. So I think they're starting to address it. They definitely don't have dedicated resources to it. They don't yet have what I would call experts on staff, but they're heading in the right direction pretty rapidly. I think the challenge for them will be the pace. And this space will change far faster than anything they've seen before. How they keep up with that and how they keep up with the evolving ecosystem of just new and new species that will proliferate from here is, I think, going to be a real challenge.
If they don't have the expertise in-house, do you think that there's enough consultation with the experts who are in the industry and are seeing this new architecture being built? Is there enough communication between the two, the regulator and the industry?
I would say definitely not. I think part of that is the cryptocurrency space and the blockchain space is afraid of engaging, and a lot of them purposefully, do not engage with the SEC. They view them as a threat. I think the SEC's lever that they've been pulling is going after scams, which reinforces that belief that the SEC is bad and they're going to come after us. But I think a dialogue needs to happen, and we've been engaged in dialogue with the SEC, and I think that everyone is well-intentioned. So I don't think there's anything to fear. In fact, if you're doing something that they don't agree with, it's better to get that on the table and start talking about it than throw the table up at the regulators. That's not going to end well. And so I think it's partially our fault as an industry for not doing more to try to learn how they would view different things that we might do. And so I think we could do a lot healthier job on that. So
room for improvement. You've been in this industry for a few years. Where are we in terms of what it's going to become? Is it still a baby? Is it a tween?
Yeah, definitely not a tween.
Okay.
I think it's still an infant stage, and I think it's being treated much more like a teenager. I think that we're at the stage where 99% of these projects are going to fail.
As high as 99?
Yeah, I really think that the vast majority of them are going to fail. We don't even know what models work yet. There's a lot of naivety in the space. People think that technology is what's going to necessarily make something successful. If you build it, they will come, and I don't think that that's the case. I think that classic business strategy still applies to this space. And so I don't think investors are helping much in this process of maturing the ecosystem, because it's up until recently, investors would throw money at anything that had the word blockchain in it, including an iced tea company.
That's
so,
right.
I think that I think the process will happen. It could happen very quickly. It could happen over a long period of time. But I think that there'll be a vetting process that goes on, and eventually some real winners will emerge. But I think it's very early days. I think we're at the stage where people are first discovering what this electronic form of money of mail is in terms of the internet timeline.
Well, in terms of the maturation of the space, 2017, this year has been really interesting. We came off of wild ride at the end of 2017. This year we've seen peak crypto, we've seen the bear market. Is that actually sort of a good thing in terms of the technology being developed for the space?
Well, I think that it forces people to buckle down and focus on their products and focus on their ecosystem and focus on developing their use cases. So from that perspective, it's good. There's obviously bad aspects to it too. It has an impact on the resources available to some of these teams that are attempting to get things done. I think ultimately we're going to continue to see these cycles for a long time, because right now the amount of speculation compared to the amount of actual use is incredibly high ratio. And that needs to balance out before these swings will start to go away. But I think that we've seen enough of them in the past to know that these sine waves have a way of kind of going up over time. So I'm hopeful that the entire industry will continue to grow and find new ways of creating value.
So you think this too shall pass. So we are out of time. Thank you very much for this discussion. I could talk to you for another hour, but we're limited. Thank you all.
Thank you.